What's going on, everybody? This is an episode from the No Gimmicks Needed Wrestling podcast. Do you like podcasts and you want to see the full podcast? Make sure you check out the No Gimmicks Needed Wrestling podcast on all your podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, among many others. But you're listening to the episode right here on YouTube, so make sure you hit that like button and below, and make sure you hit the subscribe button to NC Studios and NC Level Up for all your gaming needs. This is the Nerd Coalition. Enjoy the show. We got more WWE releases, but this time they're from NXT. And there are a couple names on this list that we're gonna go into detail. But so NXT had to release 8 people off their roster, and at first, the first day I was just like, all right, because I'm not missing any of those people because they weren't used at all. And but there was some that need to be released. We had was it Drake
Younger?
Okay. Is it called because his name was Wertz? You know, WERTZ.
He was an indie wrestler.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right, from CZW.
Who actually he was in the Nick Gage Dark Side of the Ring because he was wrestling.
Yeah, I was to say I just said CZW. Drake, that's where he's from. Yeah, they released him.
It was the match. It was the match where he didn't stop, drop, and roll. He stood and rolled.
Oh yeah, yo man, that shit don't work. It worked if you did it right, but okay. Alexander Wolf, Brandy Lauren or Skylar.
I feel bad for her because she just got signed and then she moved into her house like 2 days ago.
And she gotta move out.
No, she moved out the next day.
That's fucked up, man. That is messed up. I hope I hate when shit like that happens. Kadavia Deva, who's her?
She I believe is the Indian woman that was at WrestleMania 34.
Oh yeah, she had to go.
I believe.
Yeah, Jake Clemens.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Ezra Judge.
Mm-hmm.
Jessamine Duke.
Born too.
Huh?
Yep, she had to go.
Yeah, she had to go. First of all, why is Marina Shafir name not on here?
Because she's still signed.
Vanessa Bourne. Wasn't it funny? We just asked about Vanessa Bourne.
Well, I knew she was going. I know she was not going, but she ain't been there like forever. I don't think she wrestled since 2019.
You're right.
So, she had.
Yeah, remember, because her and Aaliyah was a thing at first. It was like, what happened to that?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I was just like, all right, well,
there was a heavy thing too. Like it was like almost like iconic, almost to the point of like being a full iconic type of tag team, like the Iconics. But then they just like out of nowhere separated. So
exactly. So, but now I was like, all right, well, we got to talk about Drake Younger. But then the next day, they released a big name, and it finally came. It caught up. Velveteen Dream. He couldn't JTG it no more. He got caught, and they finally released him.
He released a couple statements, and it's been like verified and stuff from a couple people. He might be off. He's off the hook. I tell you.
He's off what?
He's off the hook. Like with his legal people or whatever.
Yeah.
They gave him the official off the hook thing.
For his accusations.
Yeah, so I guess the reason they fired him was for him to actually come out. Like, well, they fired him to fire him, of course, but like now that he's fired, he can openly talk about it and not like just not say nothing. Okay,
so do you think this is a slide move for WWE to like rehire him?
Could be.
Like they fire him, he comes out.
It's like okay, so like he was in character all the time.
Yeah.
Like even backstage and all that kind of stuff.
Matt Hardy style.
Yes. So I think this is either their way or his way to like come out of that character, just to say, all right, this is me, Patrick Clark now, and then to eventually probably get back. But he released a statement this morning, like soon as like this morning, saying like this is what happened, and then it's like he got his lawyers and all that to like verify and do all this and connect the dots and all that.
Yeah.
So he might be off the hook with his allegations, because it's like all the evidence he said is like there. So
well, I mean, if he's off the hook, I mean, hey, you're supposed to be, because a lot of people aren't. You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty in this country. But like I said, a lot of people aren't. But it still rubbed me the wrong way of when the accusations came out. If he is off the hook and they had proven that he wasn't responsible for those things, well then
Wait, what were the allegations?
He was having inappropriate texts, and he was sexting underage boys.
Okay, so he cleared that up.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess he said he's in Prince mode all the time. So he was androgynous the whole time.
Yeah.
But he says he never did that, and he said one of the dudes was mad at him.
Who was mad at him?
One of them, it was like two guys. One of them was mad at him because he cut him off. Because whatever the case was, the guy wanted to be a wrestler. And he like had too many concussions or something. And Velveteen Dream was basically like, I'm not trying to watch you die, so don't talk to me no more, because I'm not helping you become a wrestler if you got injured this many times. And I guess he said the dude got mad. And then somebody else, he got together with somebody else, and they kind of like did this whole story or whatever. But I gotta go back and read it. But he connected the dots. He had his manager involved, his agent involved, and his lawyer involved in the dots. It's either he got good lawyers or they just kind of, did what they did. But the story checks out as far as his lawyers and people are concerned. So he could be getting a job at AEW. That's what I'm saying. Could be.
Oh, guys, is that the hill we died on? Everybody's like, everybody go to AEW.
Nah, if his story checks out and he's like completely innocent, like the story checks out 100% and not just like by his lawyers, then yes, they will be fools not to pick him up if everything checks out the way that he says it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And then people was like, this story makes sense. Why didn't you speak up sooner? And I was like, I think you can't speak up in an investigation. So see that the investigation is over, or he got the letters to talk about it.
See, the thing. So he has a 30-day non-complete clause, and then that's up on June 19th. So he's free to go wherever he wants to go. Now, here's the thing. There are a lot of people out there who still feel as though that Velveteen Dream is guilty.
Yeah.
I mean, because look, you know how Twitter is, stuff like that too. Once again, I necessarily guys don't know, and I've said my piece about Velveteen Dream on this podcast before, because the guy, let's just go by talent alone. The guy's a very talented guy.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to wrestling, when it comes to character, when it comes to stepping up, because ever since he started getting very popular, he was a heel, and then he got sucked in to this Velveteen Dream character, and then that match in 2017 War Games with Aleister Black. Oh no, it wasn't War Games. It was another. I don't know which NXT takeover it was, but that match he had with Aleister Black that put him really on the map, and then it was a steamroll ever since then. Huh?
That was War Games.
It was a steamroll ever since then, and then we had things with Cassius Ohno that we had. He was being put in big time matches, and then even when they put him in the big time matches, like the one where he won against for the NXT Championship against Ciampa, which was a good match at another War Games.
All right, I'm gonna try to read what some of this says. All right.
Okay.
So he said, one night I posted from my verified story that my DMs are open. So this 17-year-old wrestler, Jacob, tried to ask me. I ain't gonna read it word for word, but basically, Jacob asked him how to be a wrestler, and he told him what he would need, a physique and all this kind of stuff. And he said, because you're an independent contractor, nobody's gonna tell you how to eat or when to work out, when to do this. So you got to make sure that you are serious about this. Also, work on your promo because somebody would rather watch you doing a promo than this choreographed fight. Jacob explained how anxious and he felt messaging me and asked me to verify if it was really me. I did find it strange because I do have a blue check. But as a lifelong fan, I remember meet and greets and days I would message wrestlers hoping to be seen. So I chalked it up with him and sent an innocent voice message. In my Velveteen dream voice, as to keep kayfabe, the full voice message is asking Jacob his weight, his height, where he trained, and what school he attended, which Jacob answered back with a voice message. I continued to answer his questions politely until I wrapped up the conversation. April, the next day, I woke up to notification and tags and created screenshots and videos of the conversation that I didn't have with Jacob. I immediately contacted WWE Talent Relations social media departments and began an investigation. Even after they released me, they released a statement maintaining my innocence, and that part hurt me. Was having a personal picture that I used in my other personal life that wasn't supposed to be seen being used to label me as a predator. I am in no way the word a predator. This is the first and only time I've been accused of any solicitation to anybody. Josh and Jacob are two of many people that I've helped, yet these are the only two who have found me malicious and how I go about helping others. Josh and they contact each other. And all of this experience just diminished my character. Dream over, but Patrick Clark lives to fight another day. That was some of his statement. And some people are saying it checks out, some people are saying it don't check out. But we will see.
Yeah.
That's all I would say. Because if it completely checks out, then he would definitely be headed to AEW.
Mm-hmm. Because see, here's the thing. I can't go against anything. What's going, because like I said, if it checks out, it checks out. But but we still don't know yet. I'm not gonna say to defend Velveteen Dream, but I am gonna say this was a time, like I said, you had Shawn, Triple H, and Cena backing you. Mm-hmm. There was no wrongdoing. You got guys who don't have that, like Dolph Ziggler, and end up like he is. It really all depends who is backing you. And look, let's just call a spade here. It was a black guy. Mm-hmm. We rarely get that, and you know that prior. And when you got somebody, the big names is praising you, it's like, yeah, we take one for the team. And you go out and do, and these accusations and stuff, go out and do this shit, because it almost makes it seem like, he was so deep in the character, he didn't want nothing to happen to the character. He kept this shit going. Like, I'm like, look, bro.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, and I'm like, nah. Because I'm sorry. No disrespect, I'm not, but here's the thing. It's kind of hard to buy shit like that from a younger guy. If that was the Undertaker talking, maybe.
Dang, nobody can study the product to be in kayfabe, so Kevin Owens can't do it.
I don't know. I'm just saying, because it seems like these young guys have a different perspective. Because I have a different perspective for kayfabe. I'm like, to the point where, fuck this character if it means ruining my life and my job.
That is true.
Because even Matt Hardy's smart. I mean, Matt Hardy's staying character with the broken thing the whole time. But if it came to something that can affect his family, affect his kids, affect anything of that nature, Matt Hardy would time to turn that shit off.
Yeah, you're right.
And then even certain things, even if
you know what?
What?
Just real quick, that was around the time Matt Hardy was doing the broken thing too, when he came up with Velveteen Dream. So that was probably in his mind as well.
It probably was. People probably looked at the Matt Hardy like, hey, he's trying to bring the kayfabe thing back. And once again, when it comes to being on TV, when it comes to being sometimes out of public where people see you all the time and you want to maintain, or doing interviews and you want to maintain that Velveteen Dream personality, that whole Prince personality, stuff like that, I understand that. Because you have a true love for the business of wrestling, of professional wrestling. But if there's a situation that comes up that is going to affect your life, not the Velveteen Dream's life, Patrick Clark's life, when there's a situation that is these true allegations that are coming out about how these people are feeling, and it's going to mess up your job as Velveteen Dream. So both Velveteen Dream and Patrick Clark is affected by this. You know what this reminds me of? Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea.
I guess you were trying to go on a rant because Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea are too.
I would say because remember how Hulk Hogan would, Terry Bollea would blame shit on Hulk Hogan and say it wasn't him, it was Hulk Hogan talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no. Y'all cannot be excused for this kind of character. Like, people can ever say, like, hey, Vince McMahon used the N-word, but it wasn't Vince McMahon, it was Mr. McMahon that used the N-word. I'm like, it don't matter. It don't matter. That man said that thing on live TV. And I'm like, you're not going to go out here and go out your way to keep thinking of a storyline. Fuck that. Especially not the career he's having. Not for the career that Velveteen Dream is having. That shit makes no sense to me. And then he goes out and after everything happened, this is what happened. He can go to AEW. He can go to New Japan. He can go to Ring of Honor. He can go to Impact Wrestling. It doesn't matter. The fire's gone. He has to rebuild it because no matter where he goes, especially even if the accusations clear out, people going to even if they clear out, people going to say, hey, it doesn't matter, he's lying. This happens with us all the time, especially black people. Michael Jackson can beat the case, it doesn't matter. People call him a pedophile to the day he died and beyond.
I mean, he had 2 new cases on the way 2 years ago.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, well, there's always gonna be something coming up about it. Anytime you can tear some reputation down, they've been tearing down Janet Jackson for the Super Bowl thing, even though they ain't say nothing to Justin Timberlake. This shit happens, y'all, and so he can't go. He's not gonna go to AEW and be like, hey, Patrick Clark here, I'm gonna go try to do something, and then people are gonna respond to him well. They're not, and he could go try to be a universal heel. But I just don't know how this thing is going to play out, and how things work. But he really, for somebody being so young, it had so potential. Him and Lars Sullivan, they got so much potential, and they ruin it. They ruin it with their attitudes and the things, and then their arrogance, or whatever the case may be, and it's a problem. And then we got to go talk about Drake Younger, who was a referee for NXT, who also worked at CZW, Evolve, Dragon Gate USA for the deathmatch style, and he signed in WWE in 2014, and because he retired from in-ring competition, he's in the CZW Hall of Fame. Wow, okay, and he was a referee. And everybody was like, "Well, you're like, well, Velveteen Dream's the biggest thing that got released." Yeah, but Drake Younger had some issues with him too, and he had to go. And the thing is, he was under fire for scandalous comments he made during a Zoom meeting while wearing his NXT referee shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Dumbass. You go and make these comments, and then because when you wearing that shirt in that referee uniform, you're representing WWE, and I don't give a damn how they feel. Look, we all know that Vince and the former, and the former president are homies, right? But he ain't gonna do nothing that's gonna affect his sponsors or the whole McMahon family, whoever, in the case, how they feel or not. So he had some things go in this call. Talk about the QAnon conspiracies and talk about the government and the anti-masking, and it's been a whole stuff. This is what some of the things that he said about his radical views. He says, and I quote, "My wife says some folks are apparently writing about our radical views, which in his mind aren't." He said, "Human trafficking is modern day slavery and we seek to eradicate it. Abortion is murder and needs to be abolished. Children in my community that are being forced by local government to wear masks for 8 hours a day against their parents' wishes is abuse. We have a God-oriented duty to speak up for the least of these and petition our magistrates to prevent harm upon children. If this is radical, then label me an extremist for Christ. We're not called to fit in with the world. We're called to serve God. We ought to obey God rather than man." Chapter 5, verse 29. Okay. People, I hate that people throw God into everything. Does that get on your nerves prior time?
Sometimes, but sometimes honestly, it's like a instant turn off, depending on what they're talking about.
Say what?
Sometimes it's an instant turn off, depending on what they're talking about.
I agree with you. Every time they do it, I'm like,
turn the channel. Yeah.
What'd you say?
It's like an instant turn the channel, depending on what they're talking about.
I agree with you wholeheartedly about that. Sometimes when they want to bring this religion, because first of all, I hate when people do that. Okay, and here's the thing: it's amazing how if me and Prime say it's an instant turn off, because me and Prime both believe in God. We go to church, don't we, Prime?
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's the thing: I don't come on this podcast throwing my beliefs out there to whoever is listening and saying that they have to, believe it or not. And I hate the fact that it seems like, okay, so if I want to have my child wear a mask, I don't believe in God. I don't love the Lord. I don't obey, or I don't obey God rather than me. That's your excuse, okay? You're forcing your way of thinking onto other people, and this ain't the only crazy shit he said at all. This is not the only kind of crazy stuff he said. He has said some radical stuff about other things. I can't necessarily find all the things that they say he said, but I'm so sick about these damn mask things. I'm like, people, doctors. First of all, doctors got to wear these masks way longer than we have to. Okay,
mm-hmm.
they've been doing it for decades now. They've been doing it for centuries. Like, they've been doing it for so long. You know what I'm saying? Why the hell are we even complaining? And here's the thing: the massive kids, like, okay, they call it abuse for the. We just trying to keep the kids safe. And if you're so anxious about getting them back into school so soon, because it ain't. I don't understand why people feel as though that their kid is the ones. That's not just because their kid's not sick don't mean nobody else's kid is not sick. There are kids that have different issues that I've seen go to my son's school that sometimes had to walk around with a ventilator or something like that just so they can have an education, and sometimes they can't be around that kind of bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
That shit gets me upset. And I'm like, but it don't matter, because it's kind of like the people who don't want to vex their kids when they're born, but then yet they go around and they spread all these diseases to other kids. But since their kid is all right, it's fine. But they don't give a fuck about none of these other kids. Everybody's not the same. The whole abortion thing, bro.
Right.
I'm like, look, I'm a man. I'm not going to sit here and say, talk about my views about abortion, because this is not what this show is necessarily about. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, this is the one thing I tell myself. And that's prime time on that end. This is Mr. A&E on this end. We do a podcast. It's one thing I wake up every morning and realize. You know what that is, Prime?
What is it?
I'm not God.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
That's it. I don't doom nobody. I don't grant them to heaven. I don't doom them to hell. That's not my job. My job is to go around here and try, as they say, as a Christian, to try to spread the teaching, like, you know, to go around be Christ-like. I help people. You know what I'm saying? I try to make people feel well. I try to entertain people. You know, I try to pay it forward. If people need money, if people need something like that, if people need help with something, if I'm able to do it, I offer my help. If, you know, especially when it comes to advice or just being there to comfort people when they need to be that kind of person, to be kind of nice to so the world can go around.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's amazing when people talk about how they want to just do God's work and they're extremists for Christ, but yet read one part of the Bible where Christ judged. Can you, Prime?
Can I? I mean, honestly, this whole thing, I am definitely just in my. I mean, I don't know. I'm just been silent. I ain't know. Okay, wait. Before we even get into this, did you see the video?
Which video?
Drake.
No, I didn't see
There's
the
a video of him like interrupting. Okay.
No.
The video made it even more cringy.
Because me personally, I didn't want to see the video because it's gonna probably make me mad.
Okay.
To be completely honest with you, it's probably gonna make me mad. I'm reading from the transcripts though.
Okay.
Yeah, of stuff like that, because there was also saying when the whole killing of George Floyd last year, which had the whole meeting with the NXT.
Oh, he want that.
Yeah, about the Black Lives Matter stuff, and then how they're not here to judge about race, creed, or whatever the case may be. If you want to talk about it, his office is open to it. He walked out the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, what the hell are you so offended about? Like, what the hell are you so offended about? That right there, to me, you know, it says a lot. It says a lot about your character, and honestly, I don't feel sorry that you had to go. That's what I was saying. Like, you know, when it comes to him, when it comes to Velveteen Dream, and I'm like, and all the people on this list, I'm like, this is the first list of releases that I actually agree with, opposed to Billy Kay and Samoa Joe and Mickey James.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find no logical reason why y'all released them other than that y'all fucked up. And I was more upset about that. But this list of release that just came out for NXT, I have no problem with anybody on this list. None.
Mm-hmm.
And that's including the Velveteen Dream. I have no problem with because you're not going to get a rebuttal out of me.
Yep.
You're not going to get a rebuttal. You had to go. That's just the way. Now, if they said they released like Swerve Scott, I'm like, why? You know what I'm saying? No, that makes no sense. But this kind of thing right here, no. It had to go. They both had to go, and the rest of people had to go. They weren't using them, and it's none of these people that missed are going to be missed. And honestly, how Marina Shafir slipped through these cracks, I'm pretty sure she got, because Jessamine Duke is the one that's married to Roderick Strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I'm like, you're going to be going probably quietly to the point where nobody knows. But I'm just like, yeah, okay, so get rid of them. Honestly, just get rid of it. Any final thoughts you have on this before we move on?
Nah, I don't got nothing.